8:40 in the AM, 46 degrees outside. Temperature seems to be dropping. It was 50 when we started the morning show.
Well, that's debatable, too.
Yeah.
Well, it is the monthly safety and security show sponsored by Los Alamos Public Safety Association. Carol Clark leads this every month, and this month, Carol Clark of the Los Alamos Daily Post, online newspaper. This month, her guest is Officer Robert Germendonk of the Los Alamos Police Department.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Thanks for coming.
The reason that we have Officer Germendonk on today is because he's been on the Los Alamos Police Force for just 10 months, and he is
47 now. 47
years old, and he has kind of really a very inspirational story of how he became a police officer a little bit later in life than your typical 20-year-olds. And we just thought it would be interesting to kind of learn a little more about the man behind the badge, so to speak. So, Officer Germendonk, where were you born?
I was born in Germany, what used to be West Germany, and I came to the United States in 1990, July 1st, 1990. And with a small interruption, I've lived here ever since, in Phoenix, in Florida, where I just came from, and now, of course, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Are your parents German?
Yes, and they still live in Bremen, which is way up north. My brother, I have one brother. He lives in Belgium. He's married to an Irish girl, so that's a potent mix. They have a couple of kids. Again, potent mix.
And you married an American.
My wife is from Pennsylvania, correct.
How did you all meet?
In front of a trash can at the apartment complex, the dumpster. She had a dog, and I had a dog, and the dog started, playing with each other, and next thing you know, 19 years later, we're still happily married. Almost 19 years.
With two children?
Two children. I have a 14 and a 17-year-old teenage girl, and that's yet another story, of course, especially the 17-year-old.
So, when you came here, you said originally you went to the Philippines or to Guam?
The Philippines, yes. The reason why I started my American education was because of my dad's work. He was not in the military. He was a sole representative for a German company doing business down in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and so on, Malaysia, places like that. So we had to move to those places, and I turned 15, and we happened to move to the Manila, Philippines, and I was able to complete my whole 4 years of high school. It was an American/international school, and that's what I don't want to say not derailed, but it started my American education, leaving the German educational system.
And your interest in living in America?
Yeah, I've ever since I was about 6 years old. I knew I was going to end up here,
and what do you think inspired that? Was it American television, or?
That certainly had something to do with it. I'm sure that had some influence.
Did you watch Bonanza?
For example.
Did they speak German?
Yeah, that sounds funny when they do. When I just went back, it's something else too, because you're used to the American voices, and now you hear the German voices, the dubbing, and it sounds awkward. Definitely, but that was definitely part of it. I definitely was influenced by that, the American history, and the rights we have here, the people that this country brought up, and everything together just merged, and I knew I was going to end up here. There was no doubt in my mind. It took me a little bit, but
you mentioned drawing the American flag when you were about 6 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I was really, really in tune with America, and influenced by the TV and what you heard in the news, of course. But bottom line is, I knew I was going to end up here.
And what about John Wayne?
Oh, so, yeah, well, he's still my idol. When I see the sticker, God bless John Wayne, yep, that's it.
Wow.
Definitely. So.
Okay, so you had mentioned before we went on the air that prior to becoming a police officer, you were in sales.
Yes, ma'am.
And how did the interest to work with the police get sparked?
It actually evolved. I was in sales for approximately 17 years. Basically, all my professional life was in sales. And that is fulfilling, and the money is okay. Call it a midlife crisis, call it whatever you would like to, but there comes a point there came a point in my life where I just had to do something different, something where my family could look back and say, you know what, I'm proud of what my daddy's doing, or my wife's, same thing. Just be proud of me, and I wanted to help some people. Wanted to really make a difference. Maybe that's utopia. Maybe that's a ridiculous thought pattern, but that's really what my motivation was here. So it happened very late in life. I was 41 years old when the thought appeared, came up, evolved into, hey, you know what, law enforcement, that would fit me right now, and it has become so far has become a journey. That's for sure. It was not always the simplest thing.
Did 9/11 have any influence on you, do you think? Was it right around that time?
No, it actually was a little later. Like I said, I was 41 years old. I was a sales manager in a German company. I was groomed to become the vice president of that same company, so the money would have been fantastic, very good. But money's not everything. I know you hear it a lot. Money is just not everything, and there had to be a whole lot more. And I searched everything through firefighting to a company called Blackwater. The military. Something that required some guts as well.
Sure.
And for those companies to become eligible to work for them, you had to actually have some either military background or law enforcement. Law enforcement. Okay, now we're talking. And my still mentor and very, very good friend, Lieutenant Tom Harmer of the Stewart Police Department in Florida, he lived about 3 doors down. I've never met him before. His cruiser was always up front in the door, and I just knocked on his door one day, and he just took me in, and we just sat on the porch, and yes, we opened a beer and just discussed what it is like to become a cop.
Was he surprised to see this not so young person arrive and say, "I want to be a police officer"?
It's possible. If so, he didn't really show it, but it's not typical to change your career to something law enforcement related or some other activity, firefighter, law enforcement. I don't want to say it's typical.
No, I think that many people see that as a calling, and they enter
Exactly.
it, in early adulthood.
Yes, exactly. And
But it became a calling to you in one moment.
absolutely.
Suddenly you felt this draw to just out of curiosity, what products were you selling over there in Germany?
In Germany, believe it or not, insurance, that did not satisfy me at all. Either you can or you cannot do it, and I did okay with it, but it wasn't really that was not my calling.
Yeah.
But when you were in Stuart, Florida, what were you doing? You were selling.
Selling pad printing machines, which is it was actually a German product, a German company that located in Vero Beach, Florida, and I sold those pad printing machines, as they're called, usually for decorating mugs and pens and for promotional purposes, that kind of thing. Those machines that have an output of several thousand pieces per hour, that kind of thing.
So how did your family react when you started talking about wanting to do this big change?
Well, my wife certainly was surprised, because that has never come up. Never toyed with the idea, and I'm very grateful that my wife was this supportive, because quite frankly, sometimes it felt like becoming a cop was taking one step forward and 5 steps back, and to have somebody there to hold your hands, so to speak, to prompt you to keep going and push you to keep going, that was extremely helpful. So all the credit really goes to my wife and my kids too. Of course, they were supportive as well. But like I said, it was a very long, drawn out process. It was nothing that happened overnight.
So you were in Florida. Did you join the academy there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I did. And Florida is set up different than New Mexico. Here in New Mexico, you get sponsored by a company. In other words, you get hired by an agency, and they will then put you through the academy. You get paid and so on and so on. In Florida, that's not the case. There's just simply no money.
So it's just like going to college. You pay your own tuition.
You pay your own tuition, exactly. You get yelled at for $3,000. You just pay, which is taking you out of your comfort zone, definitely. But because of that, you can actually do night. It's sort of like night classes. It's a nighttime academy. So those were very long days. I was employed at the time.
So working full time all day and then going at night.
Going at night. So those were those were about 16-hour days plus some Saturdays and so on. So it was very long. It was 11 months too. So it was very, very, very long. And again, trying to get a job in law enforcement in Florida at this point in time, still to this day, is very, very difficult, extremely difficult. There's whole departments that are being laid off at this point, literally dismantled from one day to another. So you
Jeez.
have hundreds of police officers that are now qualified, that have been trained, that are soaking up those jobs, those 2 jobs that are available. So for a guy like me, that's just absolutely.
It
those are-
sounds like Florida would be a haven for criminals if they're shutting
Don't you
down
watch Miami
departments.
Vice?
yeah. It is, and this, you know, I went to the academy and I finished the academy in 2009. And I left in 2010 to come here to New Mexico because that was a haven for law enforcement at the time.
Now,
Agencies were hiring.
if you are a policeman who's trained and looking for a job, is there some sort of a national database that you can search? How did you end up finding New Mexico?
I was definitely drawn back to the Southwest. I love the Southwest. We used to live in Phoenix for about 12 years, so I got used to the Southwest, and I fell in love with the Southwest. And my wife and kids were not too crazy about going back to Phoenix. So I took geographically the next closest thing, geographically speaking, New Mexico, and I just literally went from county to county to county to city, checked all the local databases there, hiring or not hiring. And it was just it was overwhelmingly wonderful for somebody who's just been certified in a different state and not getting a job to come to a place where there's plenty of jobs. It was refreshing.
Well, and I think this is probably a very nice place to be a police officer. Also, you're coming from Miami, where, as Carol's implying, could be a real haven for criminals.
Yes,
When you were looking into being in law enforcement there, you had to be prepared to do, possibly a lot more gun activity,
Correct.
be exposed to gunfire, be ready to shoot people, and
Correct.
that's probably not going to happen too often here in Los Alamos.
No, luckily not. The environment is just not like this here in Los Alamos. We all know the good folks living here, what kind of folks are living here, and yeah, absolutely not. I mean, it's
Had
very
you-
rare occasions.
Had you joined the Santa Fe Police Department, you would see a lot more gun action.
Absolutely, yes. And I did. I gotta honestly admit that at this stage in my life, just fixating on just one agency, did not seem like a good idea. So I did approach some other agencies, such as Santa Fe and Bernalillo. But when it came down to choosing, what agency do I really want to end my career with, there was really only one choice, and that was obviously here, local Los Alamos.
Well,
Definitely.
the Los Alamos Police Department is state accredited.
Yes, ma'am.
And which is really quite an achievement, and that tells you a lot about who you're working for.
Correct. Absolutely. It's not just that. I looked at everything. Like I said, I do not want to change again. I'm not one to move around and look for other jobs by no means. So I looked at the whole picture, and the whole picture was such that I always get the support that I need from anybody, from not just my immediate corporal and sergeants, my higher ranking officers, but also from upper management, the lieutenants, captain, the deputy chief, up to the chief. There's always an open door policy, and I really feel that I can go places here.
Yes.
And it's being supported. It's being actually promoted. And that was very important for me as well.
We are talking with Officer Robert Girmandong, who is 10 months, did you say?
10 months now.
So are you still considered a rookie?
Oh, absolutely. My
how long-
actions dictate that I'm a rookie still.
Do you have a field training officer that you work with?
Yes, a number of them. You're not only going to be with just one field training officer. The purpose of this field training is to get as many views as possible about handling certain situations. So here in Los Alamos, I had about 3 very good and very highly qualified FTOs, field training officers, who have done this for a while. And the purpose is just to draw from them whatever you think it works for you. And that's why you have a series of FTOs. But that's initially, that is the first 3, maybe 4 months or so.
So you were here during fire last year. You
That
got
was
here just before the fire.
my second week, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, I
Wow.
got the whole whammy. I came home smoking like a forest fire. Every day I was here. Definitely. So
Had you ever been through a fire before?
No, not of that magnitude. Definitely not. That was a a unique experience, to say the very least. Scary too at times. We got pretty close to the fire line here, and Florida is, definitely not prone to that kind of fire, and seeing that advancing this fast, and it was a different experience. I have to honestly admit.
Say welcome to the Southwest. Well, that's
Yeah.
not something that happens very often here either, fortunately.
Thank God, yes, absolutely.
Well, once every 10 years. No.
I know, I was thinking that. And hopefully not any more often than that.
No, definitely.
You are listening to KRSN AM 1490. It's the monthly safety and security show. Carol Clark brings us every month with some aspect of the security and safety in Los Alamos. And our guest this month is Officer Robert Germondonk, who is a 10-month rookie. How long are you a rookie?
For the first year, 12 months.
And then do they have some sort of a initiation or celebration?
I hope not. Because initiation in the law enforcement usually mean trouble for the person being initiated.
Sort of a hazing experience.
Yeah, I hope that's. I would doubt that's the case, but no, it's just very much a smooth transfer. I mean, there's really no difference to what I'm doing right now at this point in time, which is patrolling. There's no difference at all. It just keeps going the way it is.
So could you describe a typical day on the force for you? You get up and you drive up the hill to town, and
Correct. We
are you on the morning shift or?
Actually, we have 4 different shifts. One shift is designated day shift. One shift is designated night shift. The other 2 are swing shifts, where we work 2 days and then have a 24-hour period, resting period, if you will, and then have 2 nights. And I'm on one of those swing shifts, actually. So 2 nights, 2 days, and 2 nights. And typically we start with a briefing, of course, where we find out what transpired the night before. If it's a day shift that we start, we do that, and then we go about and of course, answering calls. Calls may range from credit card fraud to domestic violence and anything in between, of course, to just regular traffic incidents where we just run some radar and so on. Yes, it's maybe the unpleasant thing to do, but for some folks, but it is necessary. Obviously, we have accidents, rollover accidents. We have a lot of car crashes involving animals, involving other vehicles. People get run over, so we it's our responsibility to control that and control the speed, etc. Of course.
Do you find the reaction from drivers when you have to stop them because they're speeding or they ran a red light? Are they typically pretty cordial with you, or do they get belligerent?
Absolutely not belligerent. I'd say over 99% of the people are very understanding, because there's a reason, and I explained that reason. There was a 12-year-old girl that just got run over a few months back, right here, this place, and that makes it a whole lot more livable, and acceptable for those for the folks.
Puts it in perspective for them.
Exactly. I mean, there's a reason why we're doing this. There is a reason why we're, it's unfortunate, yes, and
We're not just out to harass you.
Exactly, and that's, if you give a reason, I find that people are very understanding, and they're almost supportive of it. Especially if it's in their own neighborhood. So I'm doing this for you, for your kids, definitely. So it's bottom line is people are very, very understanding, and I haven't had a single person really getting out of line and yelling and cursing and cussing at me. Not one yet.
Okay, so the big question, now that you're a police officer, do you have to eat more donuts?
My 280 pounds will say yes.
It's part of the job.
It goes with the territory. No, I think the new thing is the bagels, actually.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
new cop thing.
But how tall are you? You're pretty tall.
Yeah, I'm 6'5",
So-
6'5", 280 pounds, pretty chubby fella.
Well, watch out, world.
No, but harmless.
Now, in terms of entering police training, did you find that you had to do a lot more kind of physical stuff than you'd been doing as a
Absolutely.
salesperson?
Oh,
Was that
absolutely.
hard? Was that
Yes.
a challenge?
Yes, absolutely. Now, the difference between Florida and New Mexico is that Florida does not place a lot of emphasis on your physical shape. They make you run a little bit, but it's it's not being controlled or timed really. Well, it is timed, but it really doesn't make any difference how fast you run. There's no guidelines that are given. Here in New Mexico, that is the biggest thing, the physical part. That's the very first thing you're being tested for. Not just your running, but also your sprints, your sit-up, your push-ups. So there's a whole sequence of things you have to pass. Otherwise, you're not going to get further. Period. This is as far as you go if you don't pass. And so I really had to train for that. And again, 47 years old, it doesn't come easy. With a bunch of 20-year-olds that are.
You don't have to beat them though. You just have to meet the time.
Exactly.
What was the time you had to beat?
For the academy here in New Mexico, for the certified by waiver, they call it. It's a 3-week class. If you're certified in a different state, you have to take a 3-week certified by waiver class. For that to actually enter that certified by waiver class, it was.
To enter the class, even.
Yes. Otherwise, you can't take.
You can't even enter the class unless you're at a certain level.
Exactly. You have to go and meet those times, and the times were 13:45, I believe, 13 minutes and 45 seconds for my age group.
For a mile.
Per mile and a half, actually.
Wow.
And 62 or 65 seconds for the 300-yard sprint, the 300-yard dash. It's broken down into age. They give you a little bit of a break if you are a little older, and it's divided into 10-year brackets, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, and so on. So,
I'm just, obviously I'm not a runner. I wouldn't have said for a mile. 1.5 miles. So that's way faster than a walking pace, but it's not an incredibly fast running pace.
It's definitely, it's doable, but keep in mind if you're used to sea level running.
And then you have to come up to the altitude as well.
That really makes a difference.
Oh, yes, I've heard it's like having a truck on your back.
Big semi. Absolutely. And it's there is a difference. And you can be well in that time slot in Florida. Coming up here, you'll have a hard time to make it. I would definitely advise people coming up here to allow for a little bit of time, at least a week or two, if it's at all doable, possible.
You?
I was up here a whole month. Yeah,
training.
Exactly. Training, just get accustomed to the altitude. Absolutely.
Okay, we should probably take a break. We're listening to KRSN AM 1490 Los Alamos, and we'll be right back.
The Los Alamos High School boys baseball team will be on the road once again this Wednesday when they head to the capital city for an important district matchup with the Demons of Santa Fe High School. It was an impressive day for the Hilltoppers last Saturday in Bernalillo when they swept the Spartans to get a leg up in the district race. This is Gene Mortensen. The first pitch is set for 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, so I invite you to join me for Hilltopper Baseball. I'll come into you live on your station for Hilltopper Sports, KRSN AM 1490, and on the internet at KRSNAM1490.com.
Prepare your taste buds for the delicious inferno of the best chili around at the 6th Annual Chili Bowl Cook-Off on Saturday, March 31st from 11 to 2 p.m. The event is at the Santa Clara Casino Special Events Center. Just $10 gives you the privilege of tasting and judging the best chili in the valley from local restaurants and individuals. All proceeds benefit the San Martin de Portas Soup Kitchen. There will be entertainment, family fun, a silent auction, and of course, tasting some amazing chili. Don't miss it on Saturday, March 31st from 11 to 2.
Ay, 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 delicioso.
It's New Mexico's 100th birthday. Let's celebrate.
How are we going to celebrate?
We're going to participate in the state's question.
Red or green? Now what?
I'm going to pick up some Santa Fe Ole Food Company's green chili in a jar and Santa Fe Ole's Food Company's sauces and salsas. They're perfect for all the celebrations because they're jarred to perfection in Santa Fe, and you can find them at your favorite grocery store.
That's Santa Fe Ole Food Company, capturing the flavors of New Mexico.
The Robert V. Hill Painting Company specializes in exterior and interior painting and drywall repair. His staff of painting professionals will get your painting project done to perfection. He is local, bonded, and licensed. For all your painting needs, call him at 505-690-2097. The painting season is almost upon us. Call for your estimate today, 690-2097. 669-2097. He is a proud supporter of the Self-Help Empty Bowls Project. Call him at 690-2097. Do you have business associates or family members arriving soon and you need to give them all the comforts of a great stay? Try the North Road Inn. Yes, you try it first. Call Kathy for a tour and a complimentary guest breakfast. Then you can recommend the best because you've had the best. Call 505-662-3678 or go to northroadinn.com. North Road Inn is perfect for visiting dignitaries or visiting families. Ask about our 2- and 3-bedroom suites. Call Kathy at 505-662-3678 or northroadinn.com.
And there goes the last DJ who plays what he wants to play and says what he wants to say. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey. 5 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock, 46 degrees outside, and we're continuing with the Safety and Security Show.
Sponsored by Los Alamos Public Safety Association. It's, of course, brought to us every month by Carol Clark of the Los Alamos Daily Post. And our guest this month is Officer Robert Giermendonk, who is a 10-month rookie here with the Los Alamos Police Department. And as we were talking during break, we thought Carol was mentioning that she had heard before, we have all of the crimes that a bigger city has. They just don't happen as often. So I think we're going to tell some stories.
One story that I recall vividly was about 8 years ago, and it was a Saturday night in November, very cold night. I received a tip that there were a lot of police officers surrounding this house right next door to UNMLA. So I got in my car, went up there, and sure enough, there were police everywhere, and there were also state police. And one of the state troopers came over and said to me that, he said, well, you know, we've got a dead body in a pickup in the back here. And
Here in Los Alamos.
there was a chain link fence, and I could see the pickup, and they had brought big lights, like floodlights shining down on the scene. So I was able to snap some shots of the pickup just to show the public what the scene looked like. They had a big hazmat type vehicle pulled up, and they brought in the incandescent meth lab team. Clandescent meth lab team from Albuquerque, because when police officers go to the scene of a crime, or they get a call that there's something going on, the second they notice one thing that could mean there's a meth lab in here, their orders are to back away and call these experts that come in. They have on the moon suits with the respirators and everything, because this is very volatile and it's very dangerous to breathe, the fumes of the meth lab. So I stood there. I was the only reporter, and I remember it became 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was trying to write, and it was so cold, and I felt like it was the freshest day in spring. It must be because I'm a reporter, and the adrenaline was really going. I did not feel the cold at all, but my pen was frozen. It would not write. And they put a plastic sheet on the lawn of this house, and they would bring out all the little like pseudoephedrine containers and all these little glass things, and you could just see all the lab stuff. And they would catalog it, and I would snap pictures, and then they would take it and put it in the back of this great big vehicle. They were going to haul it to a safe location somewhere and dispose of it. So I'm thinking, I'm the only person getting these photographs of this scene, and then it instantly disappears because they're taking it away. And right at the very end, when they were closing up the truck, here came the big satellite truck of Channel 7 from Albuquerque. Too little, too late. However, unfortunately, a man died. He was in his 40s, and he was found dead in the front seat of this pickup that was parked in the back of this yard. I guess he'd actually been kind of living in that truck and was so addicted to the meth that there was meth paraphernalia all around him, and he was just laying there dead in the truck. So our town doesn't have that happen very often. That's the only case I know of in our town. You hear about it quite often in Albuquerque and even Santa Fe. There's a lot of deaths and things like that, but here it's very, I think about once every 10 years we'll have a murder. About 4 years ago, the fellow shot his wife. And I think it was about 10 years before that I can't quite remember.
There was a shooting at the bank.
At the bank, someone came in and
And
shot
it was a
someone.
girlfriend or an ex-girlfriend or something that
Yeah.
he shot. So, Robert Germandock, officer, what kinds of stories have you had from the officers here in terms of what to expect?
Well, as Carol was mentioning, it's a little bit of everything. Yet everything exists here. So I've definitely heard some stories, the murder stories and so on and so on. Luckily, there's very few of them. What we see more is domestic violences, and as far as death is concerned, unattended death, mostly older folks who unfortunately pass away, and the neighbor finds them and calls, or family finds them, and we of course have to investigate and make sure that there's no foul play involved.
Yeah.
Is that very difficult when it's an older person and
Absolutely.
you still have to? I mean, how do you investigate?
Well, you basically look for any kind of signs of maybe a struggle, a fight, things possibly missing. That's when it's good to have family over there that can pinpoint, okay, there was a TV right here, or things like that, of course. So you just basically go through the house and just look for those telltale signs of possibly a fight or a struggle of sorts. Luckily, again, this hasn't happened yet. It's just obviously a very unpleasant thing because you have grieving family members there, and you can be as tough as nails. That still gets to you.
Sure.
Definitely. There's no doubt in my mind that that'll stick with you for a little while. It did with me, and fortunately, I was only on a couple of these unpleasant calls.
Yeah.
My colleague, he had about 5 of these unattended deaths within about a week or so. So it was, he got to see a whole lot more, really. So I was fortunate.
This is KRSN AM 1490. It's the monthly safety and security show, and listeners are welcome to call in 663-1490.
They
Do you
are
have a
calling
question?
in. Okay, someone called in and they want to know about cold cases. Cases that have gone cold. And I know he's a rookie. He's only been here 10 months. Has he had to work on anything like that?
Do you have a cold case room?
Well, we have a very skilled investigations team, and they will handle those cold cases. They are usually on the front line for any kind of credit card fraud cases, anything that requires investigations, of course. As the name says, they're all detectives, and there's a team of 4, and again, very, very skilled team. And these guys would actually handle cold cases, definitely. As far as how many cold cases there are pending or ongoing, I would be at a loss. Again, I'm a little pup as far as as far as my time in law enforcement here in Los Alamos is concerned.
I know the detective unit is led by Sergeant Oliver Morris.
Yes, ma'am.
And Sergeant Morris and his team are going to be at Los Alamos Medical Center this on I believe it's April 15th. I'll have to double check the date and we'll re-announce it, but from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. out in the parking lot for the annual Take Back Old and Outdated Prescription Day. It's a nationwide event, and this will be our 3rd year doing it in Los Alamos, and it's amazing. But you know how you can just collect up prescriptions and you don't use them all, and they're sitting in the closet, and you don't want to really put them in down the drain and get them in the water system and so forth. Well, this is a free and easy way. You just pull up and hand them to them, and they take care of it, no questions asked.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, there's different routes you can do. I mean, obviously the big goal is to get those prescriptions out of kids' hands. That seems to be a common phenomena anymore. Kids abusing prescription drugs.
Getting in their parents' medicine cabinet.
Exactly.
So, speaking of the kids, have you had to do any of the stints with the kids at the high school? Because I know we have a officer on call at the high school. I see his police car parked there all the time, and I think there's one at the middle school too, isn't there?
Yeah, school resource officers.
That's what they're calling them. So, have you got to hang out with them yet?
I did for a very short period of time, for just a couple of 3 hours when I was in the training phase, and I was rather impressed with their skills and knowledge of the kids and how they handle it. It's a specialized training, actually, as far as I understand it. It's you don't just become a school resource officer. You actually go to classes, and I believe they're a few weeks long. Maybe
Longer than your physical class.
lots longer. Absolutely. So there's specialized training for it, and like I said, I was with them for only a short period of time, but I was amazed at how well they knew the kids and how much of a good relationship they had with the kids, with many kids, not all, but many other kids, and that just speaks for the guys and girls that are doing this. So I had very limited contact with high school kids, or middle school kids for that matter.
You mentioned that the Los Alamos Police Department has opportunities for advancement and so forth. I know that they have a lot of special endeavors that officers can choose if they have a calling, for example, to join the bomb squad. Do you have any leanings towards
The bomb squad or some specialty?
unexploded devices?
Yeah, it does sound like a thrill, doesn't it? However,
That's not true.
no, not necessarily. I want to leave that to the younger kids with a steadier hand. Definitely. So to answer your question, not particularly the bomb squad. Of course, I would be interested in detective work.
That's where I would be the most interested.
I think that's thrilling, absolutely thrilling. I can see these guys, how again, our investigations team, how they operate and what is all involved, and it's just thrilling. It's time consuming, no doubt about that, but it's thrilling because you really get to dig deep and you get to go above and beyond, and it's fun.
like putting pieces of a puzzle together.
That's exactly it.
Every so often I get to interview them when they've solved a case, and it'll be just amazing how maybe someone that went into a pharmacy in Espanola and tried to buy something, and somehow, in the illegally with a false prescription, and then that connects them to somebody up here, and pretty soon those detectives put this whole crime scene together until they've cracked the case. That's happened a couple of times that I've been able to cover, and I've just been amazed at and I just think it's like putting pieces of a puzzle together until they have the whole picture.
And that's got to be ultimately rewarding, to have that whole picture, and you know exactly what transpired in this whole transaction. Go, yep, got it.
Do you like to read mysteries?
Yeah, cop stories. I read books in order to prepare myself for becoming a police officer. I read a lot of books. Cop stories, and there's a few books out there. And I read some of the books. I was so fascinated by them. I read them 2 or 3 times.
Do you have any authors you can recommend for people that enjoy those kind of stories?
Authors, well, there was one book. True Blue was one of them. Cops, COPS. I really forgot the author's name now. It's been a little while, a few months since I have touched those books. There's a few out there. If you go online, of course, Amazon.com, that you should find 10 really good books that include all the good cop stories.
Have you had a chance to sit down with Police Chief Wayne Torpy and hear some of his stories? He's been a police officer his entire life, and then worked up through the ranks, and of course came from Florida as well, but a different city than you were.
Correct. Further north, it was a couple hours north of where I used to live.
Yeah.
And go to
but
school
every so often I'll have occasion to interview him about something, and then he might kind of start thinking about some story and tell, and it's very interesting. But one thing that I notice, and I think his, and maybe it's always been that way with the Los Alamos Police Department, but with his philosophy, I think has permeated through the troops, because he's so respectful to those criminals. he treats them with absolute dignity and respect. If he goes through the jail, I've been on a tour through the jail. How are you, sir? He's so respectful to them. He does, and really they're innocent until found guilty. And I just think that's really nice that they're not roughed up and all that kind of thing that you hear sometimes happens. I don't think our police department is that way.
No, absolutely not. That is always the last resort, and really the subject, let me call him or her subject, really dictates the action. Of course, we do have to react, no doubt about it. But commonly we have I think the philosophy is to talk people down, quote unquote, and resolve anything peacefully. Especially, I'm 47 years old. I'd hate to get into a
big scuffle.
It's like things don't heal as nicely anymore. So it's well, definitely the first approach is always positively talking to the subjects and
try to reason with them.
Exactly.
So have you had to do any time in the
jail?
Do any time, not like you're a jail guy, but as a guard, not as a criminal, obviously, but.
No, sir. As a matter of fact, the guard, the folks at the jail, they are also a part of the police department, but they go through a specialized training. And although it's police, they are responsible for it, for the inmates and maintaining the facility and so on and so on. So, but that's a different section, for lack of better words. And so I did not have to do that. I spend a lot of time there. Obviously, we do a lot of transports. Not just myself; it's my colleagues as well. And of course, we get a lot of feedback from the folks working at the jail, but we do not have to have a certain time that we have to spend in there in the jail. That's a different thing altogether.
Are you much of a sharpshooter?
Well, I'm definitely a gun nut. Sharpshooter, I would not call myself that by no means. I'm doing okay in the qualifications, which we have every 6 months, I believe, and that's guns are my passion, for lack of better words. So. I enjoy them quite a bit. Not a sharpshooter, though, no.
Do you go out to the shooting range here and practice?
Yes, and that's another very, very nice thing about this particular department. They actually, on a monthly basis, with a very few exceptions, will go out on the range and focus on certain weapon systems. Maybe your rifle, maybe your shotgun, maybe your pistol, and you get to practice with a trained instructor.
Oh, good.
Always on hand, giving you helpful hints. And we have a whole team of highly qualified shooting range masters, instructors, that will guide you through and really give you helpful hints. So that too is just absolutely amazing. Definitely.
How big is our police force?
I understand we have about approximately 30 folks, and that's fluctuating now. Unfortunately, a couple of well-respected members are going to be retiring. Very, very unfortunate, because there goes about 20 years each of experience, and they're very free in giving those information whenever asked. So I, for one, will miss them terribly, because they were very good guidance counselors, if you will, here.
Can you say who they are yet, or is that still?
I'd rather
Sure.
not disclose that. But there's a couple that are, like I said, 20 years experience. How in the world can you possibly replace that? These people are just phenomenal, really.
Did you know Lieutenant Reggie Briggle?
No, ma'am. No.
I think he retired just before you came on. I covered his retirement ceremony, and I worked with him for about 9 years, covering different things. He had a lot of knowledge. Sergeant Freddie Rascone, who was head of the detective unit before Sergeant Oliver Morris, he retired and moved to El Paso. He was the one that was not only a cop but a preacher in our town.
Oh.
He wore 2 hats. I did a story on that. And he retired and became a full-time preacher in El Paso, Texas.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So he just keeps the service
he keeps
He's
the
still
service going.
supposed to
It's
keep it
a
going.
little bit different way, but he's
Still helping people.
That's right, still helping
That's what
people.
it's all about, absolutely.
We are talking with Carol Clark of the Los Alamos Daily Post and Officer Robert Germendonk. This is the monthly safety and security show sponsored by Los Alamos Public Association here on KRSN AM 1490. We probably could take one more call. If anybody has a question, give us a call, 663-1490.
Yeah, we got about, 4 minutes?
Yeah. So, I have to bring this up. In Crocodile Dundee movies, he had a secret weapon, the donk.
I knew I was going to do this too, but all right.
And it was like, I don't care. You know, someone said, what weapons do you carry? I don't carry a gun. I don't carry a knife. Why not? I don't need it. I have the donk. And the donk came out and floored the guy, didn't he?
I believe so. Wasn't that the real burly kind of?
So, do you have the nickname the donk?
As a matter of fact, I do. A few folks
Do you really?
couldn't do that.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I've been called that. Yeah, I've been called several things, but that's definitely one of them. It is a very. I got to tell you, the atmosphere there. It's not just an open door policy at this department. I would have not in a million years expected to be treated the way I did over here in Los Alamos Police Department. Everybody's got open doors, the policy. Everybody's helpful. Everybody's supportive here. It is just it's just absolutely amazing. Like I said, I've nothing to compare it to, but just how I was treated was just beyond what I would have ever expected in a million years. Very professional crew there, definitely.
I've been covering them for a long time, and I'll go in the lobby, and you know, you can hear laughter, you can hear people just. It's like one big family, and they take care of each other. It's really one of the best
Absolutely.
places to work in the town, I think.
Absolutely, I can vouch for that. It's helpful, from even in between teams, not just within the team, but with other teams. There's always camaraderie. There's always help, information sharing. Laughter, of course, too. It's some things are just plain funny. Some things are inherently sad, of course, but it's a very, very good mix.
And they have
happy.
good training because they have a training room there, and they also have a workout room.
Correct.
Do you lift weights and so forth?
Yes, I do, but I do that at home. Though.
Okay.
I live in an apartment complex, and that
They
allows
have a
me
gym.
to. They have a gym there, so I do that because it's 12-hour days. It takes me about 45 minutes back and forth.
Transporting.
Just moving up here from Santa Fe, driving up here. Usually here everybody's usually here 15 minutes before shift, 15-20 minutes before shift. So adding this all in, it makes a pretty long day. And working out is just. There's no time. I'd rather go home and rest a little bit and be ready for the next day. Again, 47 years old.
Sure.
I gotta rest a little bit more here. But I do the workout at home whenever I can. At the gym there with my lovely wife.
So, in closing, what would you recommend to people in their 40s or 50s if they were thinking that it's too late for them to become a police officer? Maybe that had been a secret dream, and life got in the way, and now they might be able to do it, but they think it's too late. Is it too late?
Absolutely not. Exhibit A right here. 44 years old. Absolutely not too late. It is literally all in your head. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it is all in your head. And to give up would be a complete waste, really. I mean, it's a dream come true.
So you're telling them go for it.
Oh, absolutely.
There you go. So those 557 people that took the early retirement from the laboratory are the.
And there you go.
They can
There we
come
go.
be police officers.
In fact, I understand we have some openings right now. Never mind the age.
Officer Robert Germendonk, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was
It's
truly
a-
a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure.
And now Carol Clark, of course, as the editor-publisher of the Los Alamos Daily Post, will be putting the webcast, what do you call it, the podcast on her Daily
really?
Post website. Yes.
I was supposed to record it?
Aha.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you.